let's talk about Dylan Mulvaney, because he was at the Streamies, ladies and gentlemen.
Why?
Dylan Mulvaney won an award for Breakout Creator of the Year.
Oh, it wasn't selling alcohol to minors?
No,
It wasn't a grifty. I don't understand how anyone could win the grifties here except for Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, let's watch the video of Dylan's acceptance speech, shall we?
Oh, Dylan.
But why?
Hi!
Ah, the voice.
You know, I'm really shocked because I thought the only award I would ever maybe win was maybe a Tony Award, but now I'm a musical theater gal with a Streamy.
Gal, question mark.
Theater TikTok, we made it to the
Community notes.
mainstream. 532 days ago, I made a coming out video that turned into my Days of Girlhood series. And my life has been changed for the better. But on the flip side, there's also been an extreme amount of transphobia and hate. And I know that my community is feeling it, and I now know that even our allies are feeling it. And I look around this room and I just see so many amazing allies that have platforms. And I think allyship right now needs to look differently, and
Give
you
me
need to
more money.
support trans people publicly.
Wait.
and
Dylan's really telling them that they're still
and
not
proudly.
woke enough.
Yes.
And
they're not
I
giving
think the
Dylan
trans
enough money.
community and the creator community actually have something in common, and it's that people often underestimate us. But I know that we can stay optimistic about just the future of transness in general, because if we can influence people to buy $22 Air One smoothies, we can also do this. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go have a beer, and I love you.
But what brand of beer? What brand of beer?
Yes.
Yeah, crush another company.
What I
Our
found
allies are
interesting-
feeling it. No specific support or shout out to that company.
Dude.
Interesting.
It
What's-
took 30 seconds to make it about identity.
Well, I was just
Well,
going
it's
to say,
always about identity. Who got the award?
this is what I was just talking about with the supply and demand problem. There is like all these people in the crowd that think they're fighting the good fight, right? There is no end. There is no end because they think they're doing so well. It's finally their night to celebrate how great and high their ESG scores are, right? And then Dylan gets on stage. It's like, we need to do more.
Base.
You need
Because
to do more.
they need to justify their existence. You're never done.
Also-
the work is never done.
This is Dylan's business. If there's not something to complain about or to get attention for, there's no money to be made. Like, this is capitalism, team.
Dylan Mulvaney it's scary how good Dylan Mulvaney is at doing what he does.
If you're a conspiracy theorist at the very beginning,
Go
when
on.
he makes the joke about I knew I'd win a Tony Award, well, that gives the whole it kind of gives ammunition to the whole idea that this whole character is just one giant elaborate sketch that Dylan Mulvaney is putting together.
I think that's
I
what
don't
it
even
is.
know anymore.
I think maybe it
Well,
started
no.
that way, and now like
Dylan Mulvaney really was like trying to make it on Broadway.
I know.
So that would
It was
make
the
sense.
Book of
that you're like,
Mormon.
oh, perhaps I'll
Yeah.
win a Tony. Like, that's the award for that industry. We were talking about this earlier. But I just think ultimately this is the wrong award. I stand by. We need to nominate Dylan Mulvaney for a grifty. And I don't understand why, it's
I
just
like
dumb.
Mr. Beast's
I don't have anything
performance.
interesting to say about it.
No,
It's just annoying.
crazy to me because we have turned so much of our culture. It's no longer about the individual. It used to matter who you were. Like, I don't want to hear about what Dylan Mulvaney's struggles mean for trans people. I would rather, like, if I have to care, I'd rather care about what Dylan Mulvaney's struggles mean for them as an individual. But they don't care about the individual. All they care about is your immutable characteristics and what they can do to make it about who they are as a large-scale identity,
Well, it's
meaning
just
you and all the other people who identify with you.
Even if you care about that stuff, like you're hyper-focusing and spending way too much time on such a small fraction of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, they're completely fixated on it.
Oh yeah, it's everything.
Which is
it's
sad.
everything. It's so terrible.
It makes me think, like, if you are a parent and your kid comes to you and is like, I think I might be, whatever, gender ambiguous in some strange way, like, obviously have compassion for them. It's hard to be a teenager and figure out who you are, especially when the media feeds you such crazy information. But then also I would hope that your conversation would be like, well, why don't we focus on the other parts of you, like
Right.
what your interests are, what your school
Right.
life is like how are your friend groups, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, if you're completely obsessed with basically your genitalia and your sexual
Yep.
orientation, that's not a healthy way to
And
live.
teenagers have been confused for decades. That's
the beginning
not
of time. It's what they're famous
new.
for.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
Since the
think a
beginning,
lot of
it's
it
not
is?
new, but now they're saying, oh, the reason you're confused is because of this new fringe theory that we've come up with. It's like, dude, they've always been confused.
Also, should we just make their entire lives about who they might sleep with when they grow
Yeah.
up? Like, I just don't think that's right.
I know.
You know what I think it is in a lot of ways? I think it's a market reaction to the fact that, like, they talk now about when they ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Nobody says doctor or astronaut anymore. They all say one thing.
Influencer, yeah.
YouTuber or
NBA.
influencer.
Marketing man
when you,
extraordinaire.
and when you do that, you make your own identity your brand. So it's become about all of the brand all of the aspects of your personality that you can brand and sell to the world, and these are fashionable brands to sell to the world.
They're saying, I just want to be professionally obsessed with myself.
Yeah, that in a lot of ways,
kinda
yeah.
funny.
And it's a way to raise money based off your own struggles and your own hardships, which valorizes yourself and allows you to feel amazing about who you are. And I laugh because at the end of the day, these are all still people that live here in the greatest country in the world, one of
Thanks,
the
Donald
safest
Trump.
and most prosperous countries the safest and most prosperous country to ever exist. Like, you talk to people from other countries and they look at these things and they say, what the hell do you Americans have to complain about, really? Really?
Can I say something?
Of course you can. This is America.
Okay, well, honored. It's a bit cringe because I haven't been married for long. But I gotta say, I think a lot of this is that people, now more so than ever, they don't have something, an institution, a bond, or anything that kind of takes them outside of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, because I was engaged for kind of like half a year, and I've been married for a very little time. But since then, since I got engaged, like, everything in my life and in my mentality has been my wife, my future family, and like the road and the infrastructure that we're building. And I think a lot of the infantilization of like current people is that they don't have any of that, and a lot of them feel like they won't have any of that. And so it becomes this like narcissistic circle where it's like my career, my body, my this, my that. And you know, there's a lot of not religious people either, so they don't even have like that community.
Yeah.
So I feel like a really big, for me it was like a big solution is for the culture. I mean, it's really hard to prescribe something to people in general. It's like you have to have something where you are not the center of it.
Yeah, and even if it's not religion, people don't have their communities like they
Yeah.
used to have their communities. You go into the city and you don't have that same connection you had with the people that lived in your neighborhood.
It's such a yin and yang, the whole kit and caboodle. Like, because this idea, it's like it's forcing people to become more individualistic, right? We're not going out. We're staying in our rooms and we're popping open the cell phones. But then we're trying to be part of community.
Yeah, it's not even individualism. It's focusing. It's narcissistic
but the end
focusing
result
on yourself,
is,
but how you relate to a larger group.
But the end
because
result
the group-
is individual, not good individual. It's isolation is a better word, because you are not connecting with people. You are alone. Like your habits when you go out, you're afraid to talk to strangers, right? Your friends are digital.
Yeah.
Right? They might not even live within 25 miles, 100 miles of you.
You could have never met them in person.
You could have never met them. So it's like you're getting this weird juxtaposition between like
You're part of a larger group, but you're more narcissistic than you've ever been.
yeah.
And I think there is something to be said for, like Dana's talking about, when you have strong ties to community that require you to think not only about what your collective values and desires and goals are, but also how your failures may or may not be a part of them, right? Like, influencer culture in some way, and this isn't true for every single one, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but it rewards narcissism, right? It rewards saying that my interests and my needs and what I want, I have to prioritize above everything else.
Yeah.
It rewards selfishness in a way that really truly being a part of community requires a certain amount of humility.
Yeah.
I mean, as Dane is the most married person in this room, I'm sure he can talk about this. There has to be a time where you are not putting yourself above everything else. It's okay to have ambition and goals and to think about what would make you happy. On the other hand, I think you are ultimately allowing essentially your soul to wither and die when you are not pouring into it by saying, what can I do for the people I love and care
There was
about?
the video of Dylan overseas, like on a trip overseas by herself, and it's like it almost looks like they're trying to convince themselves that they're happy. Like that lady who did the one where she's like, you don't have to go. She was like in front of the pyramids and she's like by herself with a Diet Coke, and the whole video is like basically saying like, you don't need to be married to go travel. And the general consensus from the comments was like, it looks like you're trying too hard to be happy.
You wouldn't need to make that argument if you were happy about it. You just would be like,
You would need to
and
make
I
the
went to
video.
travel, right?
It's kind of like when people make the videos, they're like my haters can't get to me. It's like they can't get to you so much that you had to make a video telling
Yeah.
people how they can't get to you.
Yep.
Like nobody buys that.
Yeah.
Like it's too upfront. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And so for a lot of this stuff is one, we've taken away the ability to prioritize how we see mental health with these types of cases. I saw something recently that the person who came up with, like one of the people who originated trans terminology or something was saying that like it is a mental health concern. But then they're saying like that person got discredited.
You're not allowed to say that.
You're not allowed to say that.
Which is crazy because we have such an epidemic of loneliness in this country that I think being able to acknowledge that the things that we do to tear each other apart and to say that you feel alien from other people, that you are different, but not in like a, I like that who I am and I'm unique, in a like, I'm different and people are therefore trying to hold it against me or punish me in some way. This allows this victimhood, which again, further reinforces isolation, which again, destroys the things that ultimately we need to have a strong culture, society, values.
When you have strong community bonds, it increases the value of your solo time. You know, your personal time, your time that you can be creative and be individual, right? And it's like, I think you said, like, what's the difference between being an individual and being lonely? I think it's really just the mindset that you have. You know, a lot of people are by themselves and you know what? They worked 6 days a week and they're exhausted, 10-hour days. They're just beat. So they're completely okay with not talking to a soul on their day off and just sitting down and relaxing. There's other people, they work 1 day a week. They're sick. They cannot stand being in that house, you know? So it's like when you have a sense of purpose, it just kind of enriches the other areas of your life. And especially when it's community, it makes all those times that you have by yourself just better, you know, because you value your time more.
I would love to start like a guys group, like where dudes just like hang out. But
No,
that
there's,
doesn't get
mommy's group.
labeled.
I get it.
That doesn't get labeled as a terrorist organization.
It's called No Chicks Allowed. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to put it in an actual treehouse.
Well, they
a
do.
very negative way to present Dane's very wonderful
They
idea.
do that though, but like I'm almost afraid that like even this is going to get villainized, but they do like daddy-daughter dances, right? And stuff like that. So it's like they do have events for the dads, for the men.
I don't
but
even
you
like
need
the
to get to the
use
family
of-
first.
I don't even
you know?
like the use of like the term girl dad or boy mom. I hate that.
What does that mean?
It's like it's like a hashtag that parents use, and then like so it's like if it's a dad, he's going out and he's taking his daughter skiing, and they're skiing. And
Oh,
says,
well, you're just
so
a
it's-
dad.
It's dad. It's girl dad, meaning that it's a way to further self-segregate ourselves into smaller groups.
Yeah, I don't-
and it never
just trying to
seemed like
feel
a good idea.
I don't know.
for doing
I go back
something
and forth on
everyone
that
does.
because I do think that like I have known men who have become first time dads and like their instinct to say like, well, obviously I want a healthy baby, but I think I want a boy because I was a boy, like know how to like I feel like I can relate to it. Like I think there is a place to say that like parenthood is complicated, and seeing like if you have a bunch of daughters and you're a dad who feels intimidated, being able to say like other dads who are doing it, what do they do well, what's working. I don't think that's bad. I think to Dane's point, this like idea of community actually is like pre-marriage and family though, because married people hopefully have a healthy community that's already established. I
There's
think having
a super chat, a $50 super chat there from Beanbag Actual. Thank you, Beanbag.
3 crisis parties in 8 finishes the Fast and Furious movie.
How's that going?
How's that
The
going?
thing is, where do you stream them without paying for a streaming service? I'm working on it. I think I'm on I think I'm like halfway through.
You know,
I'm
all
not going to
this-
lie to you
all
guys. It's
this-
slow, but eventually I will finish it. There was a day that Tim was like, it's fine. We'll order pizza and we'll just put them on all day and like you'll crank it out on Friday. But I had to go out of town that week.
Sure.
And so it sort of fell apart.
She like made sure to have to go out of town.
No, he
All
was. We were on the
this-
show. You were there. I'm
All of
sorry,
this
guys. I'm
talk-
letting y'all down.
all
I'm
of
trying
this
my
talk
best.
about community, and she doesn't know anything about family.
Damn.
I'm waiting to get that in there.
I'm leaving now. Bye.
Gosh, that's a rough one, man. I was reading this meme earlier from this article from 2021 that was saying they want to do that. Apparently, Universal wants to do a Fast and the Furious Jurassic World crossover.
But
Oh,
why?
and I was
Let's go. I mean, the Transformers
You gotta
one
get
is the obvious
Transformers
one,
in there, too.
But a Jurassic World one where Dom is running from a T-Rex in his Charger would be freaking hilarious.
And it's like, or like it's him and Optimus running,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's just, it's amazing.
Ooh, I don't like that at all.
Or maybe Dinobots.
and then Neo comes in. He's like, "Guys, this is actually a simulation.
No.
None of this is real."
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.